Hello there. Thank you for joining me. I'm Norma Poulos from Forest Park, Georgia. I'm going to lead you through a painting today that sort of reminds you of disappearing America. Let's go to the palette and get started on it. I'm going to take my fan brush, yellow ochre, white, touch of burnt umber, touch of Payne's gray. Mixing up sort of a nasty looking gray. And what I'm going to do is scumble this color over my canvas that I wetted with Payne's gray, oil Payne's gray. And I'm going to scumble very, very lightly, adding a little bit of color to suggest boards in the background. Don't go in too heavy with this. You just want a suggestion. This painting, like I said, kind of reminds you of, gives you sort of a nostalgic feeling. I'm going back to the right side of the canvas now. Scumble over in here. Going to use this color over the entire background around we're painting a dipper, a ball jar, and a spoon. And like I said, that kind of gives you the feeling of olden days, kind of disappearing America when canning was a necessary part of the life, to have food to feed the children and to feed the family through the hard times, through the lean times, through the winter times. I love to paint this painting. It just kind of gives you a good feeling about the good old days when times were hard, but life was simple and life was good. Okay, now do you get sort of an effect of boards in the background now? Not finished with it, we've got a lot to do. Going to come across here and suggest a shelf. That's where our spoon is going to rest. We're going to put other colors in this also. This is just the first application. Now remember what I used. White, yellow ochre, Payne's gray, a little bit of burnt umber. Now we're going a little bit lighter. Back to the palette again, we're going a little bit lighter. We're adding more white. This time we're going to add a touch of cerulean blue. And this time I'm going to put my glasses on because this is an important part of the painting. We've got to go much lighter and it has to show. Because what we're going to do here is we're going to bring a board out here in front. This is going to be the background, and this board has to be lighter because it's going to be in the foreground area. It's going to be closer to us. It's got to go much lighter. A little bit lighter still, a little more white. And I'm not left-handed, but I'm going to try to do this with my left hand so that you can get a better view of what's going on. Notice my hand kind of wiggling as I go down. You might think I'm doing that on purpose. I'm not. I'm not left-handed, like I said, so it's hard for me to do this, but for this particular painting it works and I'm going to use it. Because this is an old textured board and we want it to look textured. Straight lines would look like it was a brand new board. Wouldn't give us the effect we're after. Now what I'm doing here is scumbling, and when you scumble, you kind of let your brush bump and skip along a painting or an underpainting, or a color that's underneath, and you kind of let your brush kind of bump and skip, letting some of that underpainting show through. And I'm going to have to go back to my right hand just a little bit now and then. Okay, now you can definitely see this board is in front of this area, right? Okay, now we want to bring this board. This is going to be sort of the side of a table. It would have to be much lighter. To bring it forth, you lighten. You want to push an area back, you darken. What we're doing now is getting our composition established. This dipper, once we get it painted, although it's old and it's cracked, it's an old porcelain dipper, you're just going to love it. It was my grandmother's dipper. And when I first composed this painting, that's what I named it, was Mama's Dipper. And entered it in a show, and what did I do? Lo and behold, I won first place with it. The composition was very, very pleasing. And the old textured wood was good. Worked real well with the subjects. Okay, I'm going to add a little yellow ochre through here just for interest. When you're doing this, if you want to add other colors to this old textured wood, you certainly may, but what the idea is to keep it rough, keep it ragged, keep your knot holes, don't lose them. Go back and play them up a little bit with just plain Payne's gray. See, where I have an area that kind of reminds me of a knot hole, if I want to bring it forth, what do I do? To push it back, to push the wood back, I darken, right? So I take just Payne's gray and darken. Now I want to push this area back a little bit behind this board right here, this sideboard, so I'm going to darken a little bit. I think we've gotten the effect that we're after here. Now I'm going to start on our dipper. First, let me clarify that little area right there just a little bit for you. Going to start on the dipper, and you're going to see it just jump to life all of a sudden. You're going to be so excited over it. And no, I am. White, plain white. I'm going to fill in the bowl of the dipper. Thin my paint just a little bit, just a tad. Now what I did was I painted this background before I got started with oil, with the mixture of Payne's gray and burnt umber. Gonna leave that area right there because I want to place a little crack in the dipper there in a few minutes. I used Payne's gray and burnt umber to underpaint the background. I'm gonna go to my little crooker here and so I can see what I'm doing. This is a brush that everybody made a whole lot of fun of me when I first started using, but I just love it. See, it has a little crook in it. You can see exactly what you're doing with it. Little crook in the handle. This is the lip of the dipper. Now I'm painting it white also. What's so great about a painting like this, if you get out of the lines, what do? Load your brush with your dark mixture and tighten them up a bit. Now I bet you're wondering, what am I going to fill in this middle area with? That's going to be white also, but it has to be a little bit dirty. Won't be quite as clean, so I'm using the dirty brush that I've just tightened up my edges with, added white to it. Not quite enough dirt in it. Let's add a little bit more. And fill in this area. Okay, now I am leaving ever so small a little line between the bowl of the dipper, the bottom of the bowl, and the sides of the bowl. You know why I did that? Sure you do. So I wouldn't lose my shape. You can see my dipper plain as anything, can't you? Now I'm going to tighten this up with the dark line with my background mixture. This is the shadow between the lip and the bowl. And now I'm going to leave this area alone for a few minutes. Work on the handle. For that, I'm going back to the palette and I'm using cerulean blue and white. I brush mix my paints. Now if you would prefer to mix yours with a palette knife, that's certainly all right. I won't hold it against you. But I just sort of prefer to mix with the brush. Cerulean blue and white for the handle, right? You writing these colors down? Okay, now it has to hook onto the, some way it has to hook to the bowl, doesn't it? Let's put a little shadow underneath and soften. Using my trusty little crooker again. Okay, now while I'm working in that area, there's a little brad that holds that handle to the bowl. It's burnt umber, beg your pardon. It is burnt sienna and white. Gonna lay that in. Take my script liner and put a little shadow under that. You wouldn't think that these little shadows are so important, but your painting has a flat look if you don't have proper shadow structure. Now I know that's real ragged, and like I said, we're not going to leave it like that, but we're going to move on over to the jar now and get the foundation established for it. Now back to the palette again. This time I'm using back to the blue and the white. Cerulean blue and white, and what I want to do is get the shoulders of the jar established. The neck of the jar established. The bottom of the jar established. Do a little bit of blending. Okay, I tell you what, while we're using that color, let's go on and get the back of it established too. Now notice I leave the opening in the neck darker, don't I? But this cannot be a straight line across the back because you have an oval shape here, so you have to continue with that oval. It has to go up ever so slightly. Okay, now I'm going to my trusty little mop brush. I'm going to do a little blending inward toward the middle of the jar this time. Now I went to the mop brush because it has soft bristles and it won't smear this paint too badly. It just gives me the soft kind of see-through effect that I'm after. This is not the finished jar. We still have a lot of highlights. Oh, we have to write the emblem across the middle. We have all kind of things to do. It has a, well, it has a little thing right here. I forget what you call it. Okay. Now back to my soft brush again. White paint. We're going to put a few highlights on the shoulders. At the bottom. Now see, that's the reason I wasn't too concerned about getting that too smooth. All I wanted to do was just blend the edges a little bit, because I knew that we still had these highlights to go. I can see my outline there, so I'm going to have to take care of that. Both sides. I'm going to catch that on both sides while I'm working in that area. Okay, tighten up time again. Straighten up time. Okay, now the jar kind of looks like it's floating, doesn't it? Floating up, up and away. Can you figure why? Has no shadow to hold it down. Has to have a shadow. Everything has a shadow. A drop of water has a shadow. Everything. If you have light, you are going to have a shadow. How much light you have depends on how much shadow you're going to have. That's one thing I try so hard to stress, so that your painting won't take on an abstract quality. With flat shapes, you have to have shadows. I'm going to put the wire rim on here real quickly. I'm using my little crooker again. Let's see, it comes here, out and around and back up again. While I'm working on the jar, I'm so excited over it, I'm just going to go ahead and highlight this neck a little bit more with white. clean white. Little highlight here and a little highlight there. Little bit here and a little bit there. Now if you need to, sometimes you do, sometimes you can get by without it. You take your trusty little mop, go back in and do a little blending. That's up to you as to how thick your paint was or how much pressure you put on your brush or just how you handled it yourself. I use some real thin, well it's not a thin white, but it's real good consistency and it's easy to work with. Very easy. It's the best I've ever seen. I'm going to write the emblem on here while I'm moving along. B. Now I'll tell you how to cheat on this emblem. What I did was I got me a ball jar and I traced that emblem off of it. Then I traced it onto this canvas. And now I'm painting it. But don't you tell anybody what I did. And I won't tell anybody what you do. But it really is an easy way to get it on there. Now I've had people in class that could do it without that. They could just look at it, sketch it right on, and I've had others that even with tracing had trouble, so I'm going to leave that up to you. Okay, we got the ideal that goes down here. All the ball jars were ideal ball jars. The others were Masons. We painted this in class one time, and one of the students said, "I'm not going to put ball on mine." I said, "Why?" She said, "My name's Mason. I'm putting Mason on mine." So we let her do it. See how good we are? Let's put a little highlight on this rim. Yellow, ochre, and white. Little shadow with our Payne's gray. Right where it comes together here. There would be a little shadow on the jar itself too, from the rim. Remember, everything has a shadow. Now because the jar is transparent, it wouldn't be a real deep dark shadow, but it would be one. You would have one there. Okay, let's go back to the dipper. Back to the trusty little crooker again. I want to add some color in here now to make it look old. Kind of like there's been some rust on it here and there. And there would be. A few little highlights in the sides of the bowl. And sort of pat this on it, although it's porcelain, it's old porcelain, it's not brand new, so you know how old porcelain has the old, used look to it. This is going to have that look. Pat it. Don't really get it smooth. Okay, that has a little crack in it right here. Let's add it. Do declare it's looking better and better all the time. Soften down a little bit. Let's get some more highlight on the handle. I mean on the lip. Heavier white. And if it has a little dent or two in it, that just adds more character to it, to the painting. How about a highlight on the handle here? I don't know if you remember much about dippers, and I don't know how old you are, but We used to drink out of this dipper. May not have been this very same dipper, but it was one so similar that I couldn't tell the difference. Let's put a nail to hold it now, and a hole for the nail to go in. But you know, in those days, everybody drank out of the same dipper. It just hung by the sink at your grandmama's house. Hung by the sink, and when you wanted a drink, you just stopped and got you. Filled it up and hung it back up for the next fella. I'm gonna lighten this sides up just a little bit. Whoop. Almost lightened it too much, didn't I? Pick a little bit of that off. In my trusty little brush. And remember now, don't try to keep any of these strokes too straight, because if you do, you're going to lose the effect. Now, of course, you do want to tighten up your edges and things of that sort. Okay, now there was during canning time, you always had spoons, these old wooden spoons laying out. Let's see if we can get this in. I think we can. And we shouldn't have too much of a problem. This is yellow ochre and white. Now I've created the bowl up and down for the handle. Up and down. Crooked as it can be. So I'll put a shadow on the underside of the handle and straighten it up with my shadow. Now this is not on the table, this is on the wooden part itself. Okay, let's lighten up the inside of the bowl just a little bit. Okay, let's darken the bowl in the front area right here. Get it just a little bit darker. Let's put a shadow on the table. Okay, that handle's still a little bit crooked. I'm not real happy with that. Let's go at it again, Norma. You can do better than that. You know you can. You got to have that crook in it though, because I've tried to use those without it, with the flat handle. Burn my hand every time. Okay, a little shadow on the bowl itself. Now this is on the bowl. Let's add a little of the burnt sienna just to add a little interest to the color. Okay, now I'm going to tighten up this dipper over here just a little bit now. It's awfully hard to paint when you're trying to balance with your little finger. If I don't, I'm going to get this paint all over me, my clothes, this studio, these camera people, and everybody anywhere close around. And sometimes I do it anyway. Okay, how about a little more porcelain effect on the dipper? And just tighten the edges just a little bit. Tighten up under here a little bit. Now if you want to, and sometimes I do this, you can add a little blue to your background, and we have a few minutes, I think I will, to pull the blue together with the blue in the jar and the blue in the handle. So I'll go back to the palette with white and cerulean blue, the trusty little fan brush, And very gently. Now this time you would not put any pressure on the brush at all. I mean, this would be ever so gentle. Caught on the corner up there on the top of the canvas. Can you see the blue now? Pulling the blue, the blue, the blue. If you get too much, what are you going to do? Push it down into your wet background. Got a little bit too much right. Well, really it's not too much, but I think I will pat it down a little bit. Oh, that made us a good decayed place there. That looks great. Happenings, happenings, happenings. They're so great in a painting. I usually always add a touch of blue here and there. I think it really, like I said, it pulls your painting together. I wish we had some food to put in that jar, don't you? And a top to put on it and sit down and have supper. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't you just love to do that? I know I would. I could really enjoy anything that was put in that jar if it's food, because that is my favorite thing, is to eat. Okay, I'm going to put one little crack in the dipper and then we're going to let it go. Script liner in the crack. I certainly have enjoyed being with you. That finishes our lesson for today, and I'll be back with you next week. Thank you.